What's going on, Who Dat Nation? Hope you guys are having a wonderful Friday. I wanted to hop on the mic and discuss an article that I saw around ESPN and Bill Barnwell suggesting a bunch of free agents and their best fits for whichever team they could still sign to. And for Odell Beckham Jr., he said the New Orleans Saints. And I'm going to dive into that and a little bit more here in today's video. But before we get started, I just want to ask you guys a simple question. Who are you rooting for in March Madness? For me, I got the Houston Cougars winning my bracket. I know they're the number one team, but man, they are good. But let me know who you are rooting for down in the comment section. Let's dive into what Bill Barnwell had to say specifically. He said, while he didn't get steady volume, Beckham was efficient when on the field, averaging 2.2 yards per route run, which ranked 19th among receivers who ran 200 or more. His efficiency was in line with Tank Dell and Jayden Reed, but he only ran about 18 routes per game to Reed's 23 and Tank Dell's 27. If a team thinks that Beckham can expand his role and retain his efficiency, there's a potential for the 31-year-old to be more of a legitimate wide receiver 2 in 2024. Now, let's take a look at the production for the former LSU Tiger, the Madden cover athlete, the one of the most electric players in the NFL at one point in time. Odell Beckham Jr. is still a really interesting player, and I like the player that he can be, and I think that he can provide some really good veteran leadership. But the only thing that concerns me is the lack of availability. Now, of course, 14 games played is a hell of a lot better than those 7 games played, but back-to-back ACL tears in less than 24 months. It's pretty notable if you ask me. And I will also make this one thing clear. It's worth noting that Odell Beckham Jr. is on visits for free agency. On Thursday, March 21st, he visited with the Miami Dolphins. So that is something that I will be monitoring. If he does sign with the Dolphins, that takes him out of the Saints free agency pool. But if he stays available, then that's something that's worth keeping an eye on, especially because he's familiar with the West Coast style offense, playing under Sean McVay and playing against the 49ers. I mean, he's familiar with what the offense can do, and he's played in a lot of different offenses and played for a lot of different coaches, and he's a talented guy who knows how to be productive. But let's kick it back to Bill Barnwell. Call me a romantic, but getting Beckham back home would be a natural way for the former LSU star to wind down his NFL career. The Saints have a need for a second wideout after releasing Michael Thomas. I have thoughts on that in a second. But Rashid Shaheed will take more snaps as the team's designated deep threat. And Cedrick Wilson is in town after disappointing over the last 2 years in Miami, but Beckham would fit in as part of the rotating cast behind third-year starter Chris Olave, especially if the price tag is about half of what it was for the Ravens a year ago. Now, before I give you my answer, I want you guys to get in the comment section for me. Do you want the Saints to sign Odell Beckham Jr.? Just give me an OBJ for yes or a no BJ for no in the comment section. We like to have a little bit of fun on the show. So to make some things clear, I am not going to give him 1 year, $15 million. That's what the Ravens gave him last year. I am not putting that on the table. I'm not even considering that. If he wants anything close to that, closing the doors on it. But I will say I wouldn't mind giving him a contract that's a little bit cheaper, about half that. I mean, if you're taking 1 year, $8 million, that feels like that's a pretty generous offer for a guy who is aging and who has not played as much in his recent career. But I also want to make something clear. Bill Barnwell pointed out that they don't really have a wide receiver 2. I think Shaheed can become a true wide receiver 2 in the NFL. The speed is there. The talent is there. He can catch the ball. He has really good ball tracking skills in general. He has great hands. I love the player. He's so cheap right now. He is very, very talented. And if you ask me, might have been the UDFA steal of the last few years for any team in the NFL. I love what Rashid Shaheed has done in his very short career so far and a very limited sample size. In all honesty, I think Shaheed can become a wide receiver 2. But getting back to Odell Beckham Jr., I would bring him in. Like I said, I'm only doing it for a cheap contract. If he can take a major hometown discount, why the hell not? I would love to do that. But what I will say is I am not paying him more than $8 million, $9 million at most. Like, I'm not getting into double digits. That's just me. I don't want to have to pay a player who really won't be on the field all that much, could risk some injury. Like, again, it's nothing against the guy. It's just the Saints got to be smart with their money. Don't overpay a guy just because it's going to be a fun homecoming. They did it with Tyrann Mathieu, and it's clearly worked out. They tried it with Jarvis Landry. Didn't really work out. Maybe Odell Beckham Jr. can have something a little bit different. Worked out for Jimmy Graham, I will say that. But let's say this, Saints fans. I want you to subscribe for more off-season buzz, news, and live shows. We're actually going to be going live this afternoon. So if you haven't already, subscribe today, join our channel, and turn on your notifications. That way you can be notified when we do go live today. We're going to be discussing Odell Beckham Jr. We're going to be discussing a lot of really good and interesting topics. And, of course, we're going to be diving into the latest depth chart and updated roster for the New Orleans Saints after the first wave of free agency. So subscribe today, lock us in, and we'll see you later on our live show. But let's talk about a wide receiver free agency splash here, because I do believe that wide receiver is a need for the Saints. And if they don't want to go the Odell Beckham Jr. route and they want to make a pretty solid signing here, let's talk about Tyler Boyd. The guy is 29 years old. He was a second-round pick out of Pittsburgh back in 2016, the number 55 overall selection. And he was really, really productive for Cincinnati before T. Higgins and Jamar Chase joined the squad. Now, this past year, he did have some drop issues, but he's been reliable for the Bengals, and I do think that he could still be a really good player for the New Orleans Saints. I think that he is a guy that, whenever you take all things into consideration, the quarterback changes, the lack of offensive production. I mean, the Bengals offense before they got kind of stable with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon, all those cats out there, it was a little bit of a mess. But look at the production for Tyler Boyd. Before Jamar Chase in 2016 to 2020, I didn't put T. Higgins in here too because Jamar Chase is the wide receiver one, and he is a true wide receiver one. It's not even close. The targets are higher, but it's more years. The receptions, higher, but again, more years. Yards are higher. The touchdowns, higher. But the average is actually pretty close. And I'm going to get into a deeper dive on this topic here in a second. But if you guys like the hat that I've been rocking on today's video, look familiar? Well, I got it at Fanatics. I use this link, chatsports.com/SaintsRope. Got this lid. Shout out to my girlfriend, Maddie, for getting me this hat. She said, hey, you've been working your tail off. You've been working hard. I want to reward you. So if you want to get the same hat I'm rocking, it's sick. I love it. It's very comfortable, very breathable, and it looks really good with just about any outfit. Plus, it's really fresh with that cursive font, the gold, the white rope. I mean, it looks awesome. Use the link right here. It's in the comment section and description of this video. Chatsports.com/SaintsRope to rock the same lid as Jersey Trace. But let's get back to the averages here, because when I went and did a deep dive on the analytics and the numbers, I was actually shocked here. I'm going to be honest. The targets before Jamar Chase, it's pretty close to after Jamar Chase was drafted. The receptions are literally almost the exact same. The receiving yards, barely different. I mean, we're not even talking 10 yards. We're not even talking 5 yards here, guys. The receiving touchdowns, literally almost the exact same. I want to add a wide receiver in free agency, and I think I think Tyler Boyd would be an excellent option. The numbers we just showed you prove that he is still the same player he was when he was a wide receiver one. He's consistent, and that is something that the Saints need. If you're telling me that we could roll out a wide receiver group of Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, A.T. Perry, Cedrick Wilson, and Tyler Boyd, and then you go draft a guy like a Luke McCaffrey or something, I'm all in on that, man. I am so in. And, of course, the Saints are going to still add some wide receivers. Got to add practice squad bodies. They got to add men to the 90-man roster. But that's why I want to draft a wide receiver in the later rounds. And if we're not going in the first or second round, I wanted to list some mid to late round draft targets, because I think the first round needs to be offensive line. Second round, maybe best player available. Maybe it's a wide receiver, or maybe you go and get like a safety. Maybe you go get another linebacker. Maybe you go get another edge rusher. Maybe you go get a wide receiver. But if you want to get somebody in the mid to late rounds, Brendan Rice, the son of Jerry Rice, that's all you need to know. Jermaine Burton, really good out of Alabama. Malik Washington could be a really nice fit. Luke McCaffrey, we've actually talked about him on the channel a time or two before. And Javon Baker. Those are all options that the Saints could get anywhere in those 5th-round picks because they don't have a 3rd and 4th-round pick. I think that these are options that New Orleans could explore. But pick a wide receiver for me. Tyler Boyd, type TB, or draft a target, and I want you to shout him out. I want you to name what draft target you want the Saints to get in the 2024 NFL Draft if you want to go that route. But Saints fans, don't forget to subscribe. If you made it to the end of the video, we're clearly doing something right. So help me out. Help me build my career and join us live this afternoon. We'll see you guys later. Y'all stay golden. We'll see you tonight.